If it is or if it ain't, it's going to come out. Good morning, everybody. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love. Your daily dose of inspirational juice. I just drunk some water, y'all. So that's why my throat had a little something in it. Happy Thursday, y'all. Happy Thursday. I hope that you all had a wonderful Wednesday. Mine was just fine. Yo, man, I spent most of the day just researching, plotting, planning, getting some things together, getting some different notes together, and all kinds of things like that. I guess be on the lookout for more content from your girl, man. And like I said yesterday morning, I feel like God was showing me that there's much more work to do. So, yeah, and I was getting all kinds of, I guess you would say, revelations or inspiration or things of that nature, downloads even, or whatever the case is. And so we're going to see what the Lord do, with everything that I was looking into and whatnot. But yeah, majority of the day was spent doing that. And then yesterday evening, I went and did childcare at the church. And yeah, that's pretty much what my day looked like in a nutshell. My son has been talking about getting pizza, burgers, fries, and green soda for the past few days. So we got burgers yesterday just because I was like, you know what, kids, you keep talking about we ain't gonna get burgers and pizza on the same day, but I could at least get some burgers and fries today. So we did that yesterday as well. We didn't get the green soda, but everybody seemed fine with the burgers and fries and whatnot and the things that we had. So yeah, that was the main stuff of yesterday. As for this morning, so I woke up at the sound of my alarm. I think I snoozed a slight bit until 4:30. Y'all may have noticed, those that do tune into this thing live, your girl's getting later and later and later when it comes to the recordings of this. I know that it's always been my intention to have this out by 6, but yeah, I've been later and later and later lately, and I'm like, well, it's not that I don't care or something. It's just, sometimes it's that if I'm being engulfed in something else, or if I'm being engulfed in like more revelations or something like that, I'll take a little longer to look into verses and things like that. This morning, I think I just kind of, again, I did snooze once, so I noticed that I guess lately I've been kind of snoozing a bit more, and then waking up maybe around 4:30, or getting more intentional about getting started around 4:30 instead of 4. And then yeah, but whatever time, let's just say I got started around 4:30 or something like that, listening to the prayer meditation and everything. Well, you know what? I don't think I did. I think I woke myself up by getting on social media and things like that. And then I think maybe around 5 is when I finally started to, listen to the prayer meditation and everything. So anywho, I listened to it, and as I'm listening, the word overlook stood out to me. And I guess one reason it stood out is because it was a part of the piece that I did the other day at church on Sunday, Easter Sunday. There was like a line in the script that mentioned, Jesus walking with those that were usually overlooked. and things like that. And so when I heard the word overlook this morning with the prayer meditation on the Soul Space app, I was reminded of that, and I just made note to look into that when I got done. And so I did. And so when I looked up the definition of overlook, it says fail to notice something. So I guess with that, plus all the other things that the prayer meditation was kind of talking about today, it was kind of like, I guess, showing me ways where it's like you don't have to do anything in particular to be, I guess, beautiful, or to be blessed, or any of the things that you're already those things. I mean, it broke it down in a beautiful way. Y'all got to just download the Soul Space app to, listen to what I heard today in regards to, the references they made to being like a lily and things like that. But again, this word overlooked, and then I guess with the other things that I was thinking about that the prayer meditation had said, I started to just wonder, like, well, at some point, I went from just thinking about what the prayer meditation was talking about to ultimately thinking about like how we overlook God, and ultimately that led me to how we take things for granted. Of course, at some point I came across the account of Moses, and how I guess God had addressed the people that were grumbling, and if you notice, like, the different things that they were talking about, they were like missing the food in Egypt and things of that nature. It's like they forgot the oppression that they experienced there. They forgot the years of slavery and whatnot that they were in, to now they were free, right? But then they are taking for granted the freedom, right? They take for granted everything God had done to get them to be at the place that they were at, to then dwell back and look back at their sin, right? Look back at those days in Egypt, and again, miss the food or desire the things that they used to do or used to have. And so I guess that's what ultimately led me to the conversation or the topic for today. Just thinking about things that we overlook or things that we take for granted. And so I started to, I guess, seek the Lord. I was like, well, Lord, what are some things that we take for granted? And there's a few words and whatnot that stood out in my heart and mind, and I decided to define them all. And so, yeah, majority of what I have to share with y'all are definitions. But hey, I hope that they encourage and inspire you on today. So one of the first things that I felt led to write down that we take for granted is God's patience. All right. When I look up the definition of patience, it says the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. I think there's a variety of examples of how we take advantage, we take for granted, we overlook God and his patience. On one hand, I'm sure we appreciate it, right? Because we know that, okay, God is patient with us, X, Y, and Z. But on the flip side, honestly, as I was reflecting on all these words that I'm going to get ready to share with you all, including the word patience, I was like, if we just for one moment imagine that we could see God and he was like right in front of us, and we treated him the way that we treat him now, I don't know if that would give us a clearer picture of what it looks like. Because I know for sure that none of us would want to be in that position where we feel like our patience is being taken advantage of, our patience is being overlooked, our patience is being, just taken for granted. None of us would want to receive that type of treatment, but we do it to God every day. And, I was trying to get a clear picture of like what that looks like for real. Like, again, I think, imagining God right in front of us and us constantly doing those things, maybe that should give us a picture. But those that are parents, they might understand on another level, right? So let's imagine that our child takes our patience for granted. Like, we would not be pleased as parents, you know. Yeah, I know throughout the years. Now, I don't think my mom ever used this phrase on me, but it's a phrase that I've definitely heard, you know, throughout the media and different things like that. That parents say, "I bring you in this world, you know, I brought you in this world, and I'll take you out," you know, vibes and things like that. Well, God is definitely on that level in regards to being our creator, so He could totally use that line on us and whatnot. But yeah, I think maybe that would give us a little glimpse of what that would look like if if you're a parent, just imagine your child taking your patience for granted. Whew. Yeah. I mean, I know sometimes, I mean, I look, again, I'm just getting started in the parenting game, y'all. My son will be 5 this year, and you know, I feel like he tried in a lot of little ways and stuff, and I don't be too pleased about it. You know, maybe I lose my patience every now and then. You know, I think both my husband and I are trying our best to be more intentional about like the way we communicate to our son at this point, and you know, trying to make sure that we're not like letting our frustrations take over us to um you know, just lash out or anything like that. So shout out to both of us, man. Like, for shout out to my husband, because I've seen him exercising, you know, more patience and more like calmness in regards to the way he communicates to our son, and I've been trying to my best to do that as well. So it's not too much yelling or anything like that, but we can still both get pretty frustrated by him and the things he do. So let's just imagine again that he's taking our patience for granted. Like, I mean, this is just the first word, y'all, but I don't know, I'm just trying to paint this picture for us today so we can see what this looks like. But anyway, another thing we take for granted, God's kindness. That's another thing that came to me this morning when I looked up the definition of kindness. It says the quality of being friendly, generous, and considerate. Whew. Listen, we got phrases out here say, "Don't take my kindness for weakness." You know what I'm saying? Like, but we do that. We do that to God. We take God's kindness for weakness. And it's unfortunate, you know, because at some point, I mean, I don't do too much complaining about the wrath that I see in the Bible. But it is something that people take issue with when it comes to different things that are in the Bible, because then they want to bring it up like, oh, well, God did this, God did that, He killed these people. Why? It's like, well, God's on a whole nother level than us. God is not a person, you know, He's not a fellow human or whatever the case is. Like, He's above us. So for him, like, is it actually killing? Or is it just transferring people from one place to another? Like, I mean, hey, I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. That's a whole nother conversation by itself. But let's talk about His kindness, right? Yeah, we definitely take God's kindness for weakness. And like I said, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we do that. But hey, this is another thing that stood out to me to share that we take for granted. Another thing that we take for granted is God's mercy, y'all. When I look up the definition of mercy, it says compassion or forgiveness shown towards someone whom it is within one's power to punish or harm. So it's definitely in God's power and jurisdiction to, you know, pour out His wrath or give us the due judgment for our crimes or whatever the case is, right? But He doesn't. He chooses to give us grace and mercy all the days, you know, as well as His kindness, as well as His patience with us and whatnot. Every new day is a new chance, right, to get it right and to do things differently in accordance to His will. And we take all of that for granted. We do. We really do. And so let's keep going. What else do we take for granted? The next thing that came to me was His love. Y'all, love is just the definition, or the quick definition says, an intense feeling of deep affection. You know what I think, and again, this is something that was revealed to me this year. Shout out to Mountain West because I think it was during the Family Matters series where one of the ministers. No, it was from the. I don't know if it was like Once Upon a Time, but anyway, the sermon that the pastor shared that said that we are God's love interest in His story. At the end of the day, like I don't know if I ever saw myself as the love interest of God. Like I just or not in that particular like it just gave me a different perspective to really reflect on myself being the love interest, like the love interest in the movie, the one that's in constant pursuit, and things like that. And like I said, I just never thought of that until that was revealed to me this year through that sermon and whatnot. And so yeah, we take God's love, right, for granted. We know that He has a deep affection for us. We know that He cares for us. We know that He is always in constant pursuit of us and everything like that. And so it's yeah, we take those things for granted. And I don't know, like, how would we feel if the ones that we constantly pursue, like our spouses, our maybe the person you're dating, like anybody you feel like you love in that romantic way, like what if that person took your love for granted? Like, I mean, just trying to again paint the picture of what we're doing, y'all. Because again, we don't accept that type of treatment. We don't want to accept. Majority of us don't accept or don't even want to even think about accepting that type of treatment. But again, we do these things to the Lord every day, and I don't know if it just boils down because we don't see Him, quote unquote. But then even when Jesus walked the earth, y'all, I mean, people still did all the stuff. I mean, so I don't know if seeing Him is the actual issue. It's just the heart at the end of the day. It's just us in our hearts. That's what I've received. But hey, let's keep going. Another thing that we take advantage of is the blessings, y'all. God and His blessings. Again, that account in Egypt, or that account with the Israelites coming out of Egypt and then, complaining about it afterwards is a total perfect example of, taking God's blessings for granted. And then we do that every day. Again, we got the blessing of life. We had the blessing of breath. We had the blessing of, our families. We had the blessing of our job. There's a lot of blessings that we take for granted, and we make light of them. Like we don't think highly of them for whatever reason. Maybe because we have it. Maybe because we're like, oh, I have a home. So, until we're in a position where we don't have it, it's like we take it for granted, or we just don't think about it until, again, God shows us that, hey, I'm in control. And then next thing you know, you don't have a home. And then you're like, oh, wow, it was, or whatever, or if you don't have whatever it is. And so, I guess that will be a quick reminder, right? That, hey, you know what, this was a blessing, whatever it was. But hey, when I look up the definition of blessing, it says God's favor and protection. I found that to be very interesting. Again, that words themselves give a testament to the Lord our God. Yeah, that's what the definition said when I looked it up. Now, granted, again, right now it's April 13th, 2023. That's what it said this morning. Now, I don't know if anybody listens to me in the future and they done changed the definition of blessing, then okay. But at least today, that's what it says. So, with all these different definitions of different things on our heart and mind this morning, like, these are a lot of different things that we take for granted, right? And so, what does the word have to say about it? So, I mean, I did come across a few verses that I felt led to share. It's not that much in the Go Deeper section, but it is at the same time. I ended up coming across Romans 6, and pretty much the entire thing is a beautiful example and picture of what this looks like. But I'm just going to read Romans 6 and 15. It says, "What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? God forbid." So, I mean, again, if you read that entire account, it goes on, and it tells us, all the different things in regards to this conversation. But just taking out that one verse, it says, again, like, taking things for granted. And even, again, God's grace and mercy. And then we continue to sin, right? We continue to live in sin. We continue to do these things because we know that we have the grace and mercy. We know that God loves us. We know that he's going to, give us another chance, X, Y, and Z. Not knowing how much time we have, not knowing any of those things as well. That was another thing that I felt. I didn't go deeper in looking up time or nothing, but that was something else that did cross my mind as well, that we take for granted this concept of time. We keep thinking that we have so much of it, and then again, at some point we realize that we don't. Now, unfortunately, people find out the hard way, but maybe people can learn again from other people's mistakes. That's something, again, my mom taught us from a young age. Hey, you see, observe what happens with other people and make decisions accordingly. Like, if this thing happened to them and it wasn't good and you don't want those results, don't do that thing. And so that's the thing. Like, when we see, for example, young people getting into lifestyles that aren't, not just say pleasing to God, but like they aren't beneficial to their lives and things like that, and then they get caught up in these things and they may die young or whatever the case may be, that should be a sign to those of us that are still here to be like, you know what, maybe I should change my life. You know what, maybe I should not take this concept of time for granted, but even when an elderly person may pass and things like that, I mean, same thing. Like, it's just, we should not take, again, all these things for granted, especially the blessings of God and the patience and everything that God is blessing us with when it comes to this. So anyway, here's another verse that stood out to me this morning as well. And I don't know if it necessarily goes hand in hand with the conversation, but it really stood out. And I just was like, well, I'm going to write it down anyway. It sounds bigger than it is. I'm sure it's not all the verses, so you guys can check them out for yourself to read all the verses. But I'm writing that, what I wrote down was Psalm 119, and then it's 1 through 176. Again, I know I'm not reading 176 verses, but I guess y'all can check out that section to see what all it has to say. But this is what I came across as I was writing these verses down. So it says, "Blessed are those whose way is blameless, who walk in the law of the Lord. Blessed are those who keep his testimonies, who seek him with their whole heart, who also do no wrong, but walk in his ways. You have commanded your precepts to be kept diligently. Oh, that my ways be steadfast in keeping your statutes." So I guess this is what we need to be doing, right? This is, at the end of the day, dying to self daily, as they say, being a living sacrifice, being, constantly, measuring ourselves up to the word of God and making sure we're on the right track and things like that. Doing our best to be blameless. Like, again, nobody's perfect, nothing like that. Yes, we're perfect in Christ and everything like that, but it doesn't give you a get out of jail free card to sin and then say you can repent, right? And things like that. There was a blog post that I came across that, shout out to, her name is Leslie Koh. And it is in the Go Deeper section as well. The blog was called "Have I Taken God for Granted?" I think it was beautiful because it was very transparent. And I think a lot of us can relate to it in regards to, her asking the questions, being transparent about things that she's done throughout life. And then even admitting at the end, I mean, spoiler alert, I guess, but even admitting at the end that we may not have the answer in regards to the different questions and whatnot that she was asking in the blog. But I think it's good to read and reflect on and to just remember when it comes to this conversation of, the things that we take for granted, especially the things of God that we take for granted. And, ultimately, y'all, that's the juice this morning. That is the juice. Now, the Bible verse of today is John 15, 4 and 5. It says, "Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself except it abide in the vine, no more can ye except ye abide in me. I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me ye can do nothing. And that, like I said, is the juice. Friends, I hope that you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow if the Lord's will. Just a reminder, today is Thursday, so that means that tomorrow is Friday when we have a new episode of the GSL Talk Show coming out, and it will be featuring Miss Jan Mitchell, the author of Subtly Single and everything like that. So, friends, I hope that you guys tune in tomorrow and listening to her and her testimony. But as for this Thursday, I hope you'll have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Did you know that you can support us for just 99 cents a month? That's right, friends. You can support everything that we do here at GSL for just 99 cents a month. Take a look around wherever this post is. You might see a link or maybe even a button that says support. Go there, check out the options, consider supporting us because, we enjoy bringing you all the daily inspiration as well as the weekly talk show, but we have much, much more to come. Thank you so much for the consideration. Bye-bye.